morning, everyone. Welcome to TeleShadowing. We are live on YouTube. Feel free to ask questions in the chat box as we go along, and they'll be addressed. I am honored to introduce our mentor for today, Dr. Panda. We are honored to welcome Dr. Panda to today's TeleShadowing session. Dr. Panda is the Regional Dean at Morehouse School of Medicine in Chattanooga and Professor of Medicine in the Department of Internal Medicine. And now it is my honor to request Dr. Panda to begin today's session. Thank you.
Thank you, Amira, and thank you to your team that is hosting these sessions. I'm sure your colleagues find them very valuable, and like to send a special thanks to Dr. Chow and Dr. Devkota, who are great mentors and role models for me. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen. I hope everybody can see that. Yeah, okay. Well, welcome everyone. So really first, congratulations to all of you who are pursuing this journey of medicine. Thank you. We need young minds and future leaders like yourself. I was in your shoes before you were born in the late 70s and, went to medical school in 1980. So I thought I'd start by sort of sharing my journey and what I have learned and looking back over the past 45 plus years, what I wish I knew. So a little bit about my journey. I was born in India, in Delhi, and spent the first few years of my life there, and then moved to London, where both my parents were doing their postgraduate studies in surgery and medicine, my dad in surgery and mom in medicine, respectively. After that, after spending about 4 or 5 years there, we moved back to India and we settled in Goa, which is a coastal colony. It was a Union territory in the 60s, liberated from the Portuguese. We landed there in 1969. And it's a beautiful coastal colony here, just a little south of Mumbai. I did all my schooling, high school, and college there, medical school in Goa University, which was part of the Mumbai University. Had to complete a training there after medical school. And then I too moved to London to do an OBGYN residency there. Worked there for a little bit, then got a chance to move to Dammam, Saudi Arabia, where I spent a few years, had two kids, and the Gulf War broke out. And that brought us to Yonkers, Yonkers, New York. And I was a stay-home mom for 3 years when we moved to Dayton, Tennessee, on a J1 visa. And after on my fourth year staying home, I thought, I really not sure I want to do OBGYN for the rest of my life. I really would want some other kind of cognitive stimulation and missed medicine. So I retrained at the University of Tennessee after working 1 year as an ultrasound tech, and then stayed on, did fellowship at University of North Carolina, and then stayed on as faculty and chair of the Department of Medicine program director for many years, assistant dean, and then joined the ACGME in 2024. And now I'm here. So I'm sharing this path to let you know that it is a scenic route to the scenic city of America, Chattanooga. It's not a straight path. And for many of you who may have changes in your career coming down or have heard of people, this is not unusual. However, through this journey, another important question that came up all the time was, having globetrotted so much, where am I from actually? And people used to ask me that question. And my spontaneous answer was India, of course, for the past decade. However, after that, I started thinking, where actually am I from? Where do I belong? And why is that important? And so through that reflective journey, there are a few words that I have really come to give importance to as I reflect in my life, personally and professionally. And what I'm going to do today is going to share those words with you. So, why is this belonging important? Because till about a decade ago, I was trying to fit in. So when I was in India, I looked at the norms of what the culture was in India and, in the medical school and in the hospital. And then I went to London and copied people there, how they spoke, what were their habits, what were their professional attire, and tried to copy that. Did the same thing when I came to the Middle East, and then the same thing in America. And that place is a very stressful place to be because I never really sought anybody's advice on what they were expecting of me. I had my own perceptions and assumptions. And we all know that oftentimes they are from our own lens. They were not me. It was as if I had an on-stage life when I was at work and an off-stage life when I was home. Who really was I? And that sort of made me question my own self-worth. I became very self-critical and was always living in this fear that people will find out that I was a hoax, that imposter phenomena. At the same time, I always felt that I needed to prove myself. And that made me have really high standards, overcommitting, and that created a whole sense of negative emotions that are never helpful at all. So, this fitting in, of course, is not where we need to be because in our innate DNA, we want to belong. And that's the first six-letter word I'm going to give you is belong. How do we belong to ourselves as our authentic selves, but co-create that belonging for each other to really be present, our patients, our colleagues? So, what is this belonging? It's defined in the dictionary as a close and intimate relationship. But what it really means is that we can show up as who we are. We don't conform to who we think we need to be or what norms others may have created just because we don't want to be the odd person out. We show up with all our skills, our strengths, but also our fears and vulnerabilities. We can ask for help and not feel like we're going to be ridiculed or reprimanded. That makes us feel safe, not just psychologically, but physically and emotionally and spiritually, and allows us to lean into uncomfortable situations and grow, but stand true to our core values. More importantly, it allows us to adapt to change, whether in our personal lives or in our professional lives. And it connects us to why we do what we do. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about why that is important. So that is my first word. The second five-letter word I'm going to give you is serve. When you think about why you want to be in this medical profession or why you learn from others they are in the medical profession, this concept of service is quite germane. It's in the very fabric of who people are in healthcare. And how do we serve is important. Are we welcoming to everybody? Are we open to everyone? Are we really trying to meet them where they are and following this platinum rule? Because when we do that, when we come from a place of what I call empathy, which is nothing else but compassion in action, and that empathy means I can be there for you and try to see your situation through your eyes, hear your story through your ears, feel what you are feeling. I may not be able to fix it, but I can be there for you. So there's actually a ritual of training that you can do to really come across and build those empathetic relationships with people that you come in contact with. And this is a lot of research done by Helen Reese, and she's published and she's got TED Talks and YouTube videos, which I would advise you to listen and read her papers. But it's simple. The mnemonic is empathy, making eye contact, looking at your muscles of facial expression. What is your body language? Are you present for that person? Are you leaning in or leaning out? What is that posture? What is your affect? Are you connecting? Are you nodding? Are you being there? Are you feeling? You don't always have to speak. And if you speak, what is your tone of voice? Are you abrasive? Are you somebody who connects? And that allows you to make sure that you're reading in between the lines of your colleagues and patients. What are those undertones that they are not really telling you? And then reflecting and responding rather than reacting and responding. So, and then the other part of serving is not just for your patients, but how do you serve together in your community which is at work. Because when you're going to be in a place of work, you're going to spend a lot of your waking hours, quality time there. So, how do you create this relationship of empathy and service together? And community is nothing else but a common unity. What is a common purpose you can serve with? Is it something around food? Food is a big fellowship builder. This is with internal medicine and surgery. This is an Iron Chef competition in our department. With a food drive, have fun with it, uh, doing some walks for a charitable uh, organization, and inviting families to be part of it so that people can see each other as human beings. So the word serve is broad. Four-letter words, I'm going to give you two. The first one is love. And that is the core. Again, if you look in the DNA, we want to be loved for who we are. We don't just want to be tolerated. We want to be celebrated for who we are and celebrate ourselves and celebrate each other. And what that means is that we speak not just the head language. We're going to be very knowledgeable when we talk to our colleagues, our patients, our friends. But how do we connect with that empathy and what I call speak the heart language? What is it that this person needs now? Should I be talking to them about the biochemistry of this medication and the side effects when they are really worried about something else? So that heart language and head language. And that means coming from a place of love where we connect with empathy and then lead with action. And really, I love this way we try to see each other perhaps not as human beings, but as spiritual beings who happen to be in a human body. And that's when we connect with each other with love. And I think that's when we find our life and our profession, our vocation of medicine the most fulfilling. The next four-letter word I'm going to give you, and this is from my son when he was an intern in surgery at MGH. He wrote a paper on this, and I have to credit him with that, is help. And we have to never be ashamed in asking for help. And help is understanding this is stressing me out. I can't do this by myself. That doesn't mean I'm weak. That means I have to ask for help because I want to commit myself to something bigger than myself. I want to learn so that I can help others, or I need this so that I cannot make a mistake. So it's okay to be vulnerable, and it's not a weakness. And then make sure you look for the right support. People who are in your circle of trust, people who make you feel supported, like mentors. At University of Maryland, you are so lucky to have Dr. Dev Kota, Dr. Chow, and others who really care and are there to help you, not to ridicule you or judge you. And then be kind to yourself. Make sure that just because you did it doesn't in any mean make you less than. It actually takes courage to ask for help. So you are setting an example for others. So that is the other four-letter word I'm going to give you. Then the three-letter word is why. Each of you are going to be writing a personal statement, and you're going to tell that in your personal statement why you want to do this. There is something that has planted a seed in you that has made you persevere till today to where you are and to persevere in the future. There is a why that is greater than just healthcare and medicine on what you are doing today. And never forget that. So these are two quotes. One is by Friedrich Nietzsche, who was a German philosopher, who said, if you know the why, you can live anyhow. And then, of course, Viktor Frankl, who was a psychiatrist from the Holocaust, who's written this beautiful book. And I would recommend this to everybody. Every time I read this, I find a deeper meaning. And it's called Man's Search for Meaning. And he sort of paraphrases Friedrich Nietzsche and says, he who knows the why for his existence is able to bear in almost any how. So those days when you're feeling really low, if you're studying for your MCATs, or those who are studying for step one, or those who are looking for a residency, go back to why am I doing this? That will give you the courage to continue to persevere. So why did I join the medical profession? There are many reasons. My seed was planted by my parents. Like I said, they're in medicine. And they were medical educators who always served in the true sense of what I talked about. They created this sense of belonging for their students, for their colleagues at home and at work. My even at the ripe old age of 80, my mother passed just a couple of years ago, and my father is 86 now. When we go back to our hometown or any place across the world, they find a student of theirs who, in on their own accord, will seek them out. And so that's sort of a connection where you are planting seeds and leaving the world a better place than you found it. So that is a big advantage of what we can do in healthcare. And then my patients. I have such a deep connection and memory of each patient because in our clinical years, they become our best teachers. And then my students and learners and my colleagues, because they keep me young and ever fresh and learning. So that why allows me to fulfill that core vocation and core value of giving back and the cognitive stimulation that comes with it. The two-letter word I'm going to give you is we. We are stronger together than we are individually. We cannot do things by ourselves. And in healthcare, we need the team. And for a team to be well oiled and be a strong team, it needs trust. That means we have to be open with each other and create that safety for belonging where we can show up as our true selves and now allow everybody to show up as their selves. We need to come always from a place of respect, respecting each other, but also making sure we respect ourselves. We tend to be our worst critics. And comparison is the thief of joy, as a famous writer spoke. And I think it was Roosevelt, if I'm not wrong. So, how do we come from a place of respect for ourselves and others? And making sure that we are inviting, we're asking people to lean in rather than dividing, being sensitive to that heart language that I was talking about, and always trying to be uh, true to our North Star, our core values, our moral values, remembering that it's not always right or wrong, it's just different. And we can agree to disagree in an agreeable way. And then when we work together as a team, together everyone achieves more. And that is what we need in healthcare. If we are looking at the true patient centered care, as physicians, as nurses, we cannot, as health professionals, allied, I mean, there's so many vocations, we cannot do it individually. We have to come together, keeping that patient and their family in the center, and that requires a team. So the two-letter word that I give you is we. And lastly, and then, sorry, before I go further, how do we work together in that team, which I talked about serving together? How do we find ways to connect to who we are as human beings who are not just physicians or nurses or leaders or physical therapists or dentists or psychologists, but we are human beings. We have things that we do for fun. And these are some things that we did at our institution. You know, it was the resident came up with this, a bench press competition. We have the CEO benching against the dean, the students and residents creating T-shirts, a patient who loved dancing, leading us in line dancing, and then celebrating through music around the holidays. And making sure we celebrate each other's cultures. We celebrate each other's individuality. We celebrate each other's achievements. And finding time to do that while we are at work is very important. And then the most important letter that I'm going to give you, which is a one-letter word, is I. And this was actually given to me by my father, who, when we were just talking about this with some of our colleagues sitting around a table, you know, what is the most important letter? Many of them said friends and family and love. And my father said I. And this was over 15 years ago, maybe. And at that time, I was young, immature, not that I'm very much better now. However, I was, a little taken aback and thought that his answer was very prideful. Reading the room, he said, let me explain. It depends on who you see this I as. I shared a quote with you earlier, perhaps seeing each other as spiritual beings who happen to be in a human body, that we are all here in service of. We are here not to just live with each other, but perhaps live for each other. So if we are, and in the culture I've been brought up, is we are flame, a light of that higher energy, which people call by different names, I call God, then isn't it just imperative that I have to take care of myself so that I can take care of others? And Parker Palmer, a theologist whose books are great, and I'm going to give you some references at the end, really talks about how this self care is not selfish. Perhaps it's the best gift we can give ourselves. So, how do we take care of ourselves so that we can take care of others? So, because we tend to be our own worst enemies, I used to question myself. What if I showed up as I am? When I was trying to fit in, will people make fun of me? Will I be viewed as less than? What impression will I make? Would the impression people thought they had when they read my CV, would the assumptions they had made be lessened? But then that was an internal struggle. If I'm always trying to be somebody else, what are my own core values? Am I not being a hypocrite? So, we have to not wear that mask. To really take care of ourselves, we have to take off that mask and be ourselves and let others be themselves and be confident of who we are, but confident with humility, not confident with arrogance. Always coming up with an open mind and wanting to know our own blind spots so that we are not inhibited by them. And because when we are not that, we ask always, what is the matter with me? And when we do something well, we just, brush it off. But even a minor mistake, we brood and brood and brood on it because that is that's our default. So, how do we switch from that? That comes with self awareness. And as healthcare professionals, we are going to be using this tool of diagnosis. We are going to be diagnosing so many syndromes and others, so many diseases, but we have to start by diagnosing ourselves. And that's where self care starts. Who am I showing up as? How am I feeling? What is my body language? Because when we pursue medicine, it is a noble path, it's a rewarding path, but it is an arduous path. It takes a lot of educational rigor and stamina. It takes a lot of emotional and psychological demands and sacrifices. We have a lot of accountability that we need to be responsible for while keeping up with the ever burgeoning on force of knowledge and technology, while integrating our personal and our professional lives. So it's not an easy task. And only if we make a ritual of few things, including connecting to our meaning and purpose, can we continue on this path in a journey that is meaningful. Because for those of us who are seeking what we want to do, for those of us who are continuing to renew ourselves in what we are doing, we always have a choice. We have a choice about who we are seeing. We have a choice about what kind of disease states we will be addressing. We want to know what gives us meaning and purpose. Is it working with our hands that we really enjoy? Do we want to pursue a procedural heavy specialty or not? Who are the colleagues that we are going to be working with? Because we're going to be spending so much time with them. Plus, who am I when I show up? Am I able to be my best self when I'm in OBGYN, or do I need to be in medicine? Where do I feel like I am thriving? And how does that connect to my why? Because only then we will be able to persevere. So these are the different ways we think about it and reflect on it and make our choice. What you don't see here is perfect. We cannot be and should not be and should not aim for anyone to be perfect. All we can do is be faithful. So here is another important thing while asking for help. How do we remain faithful to who and why and what we want to be rather than not perfect, because we can never be perfect. And that's another big part of self-awareness. And I love this cartoon that I found, that we cannot be our best. Our best version is going to be different every day because we have our own lives that we live as we show up for the world. And that's okay because we are human. So this awareness starts by awareness of ourselves. And I'm going to always point to the Maslow's hierarchy of needs because all of us want to be up here in these top tiers. We want to bring our best. We want to be creative. We want to be accepted. We want to really feel like we are making a difference. But if we don't take care of our bottom needs, and help others take care of their needs of, basic needs of physiologic needs of air, food, water, feeling safe, work families and personal families, blood families and non-blood families, and that feeling of belonging, we are not going to be achieving in the top tier. So one of the mnemonics I remember for myself is I need to know when to halt. And for me, halt is not never allowing myself to go hungry because I get hangry, or when I get angry, when I feel like, I'm doing all this and nobody's even noticing, or I keep doing this and I'm, beating my head against a wall, or I feel lonely because I feel like I'm not accepted. I don't belong. Or I feel lonely because I've tried to advocate for my patients and I still feel that there are barriers. How can I reframe and turn to another way by asking for help? Or when I'm too exhausted mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. So when we are so depleted, we don't come back from a place that is giving. And so, if we give to ourselves first and take care of ourselves, we come from a place of abundance and we can go ahead and serve others. This awareness of self and other always comes from also reminding ourselves, who are we bringing to work today? Who are we bringing into the world? What can we do to recharge ourselves? What do we need? Then affirming value, making sure we value ourselves and give value to others. Like I said, these are innate human needs. And that is regulating our own intentions. I told you when I tried to fit in, I was taking on more and more tasks, and I was really not doing my best at any of them. So, really regulating our own intentions and those of others. And sometimes we don't have a choice to do that. So, what do we need to give up for a short period of time because I need to focus on a step or a shelf or other things? And then reframing. And I love this. Failure doesn't mean you failed, it means it's a first attempt in learning, right? So, how do we reframe and say, okay, this didn't work. What do I need to make it work next time? How do I ask for help? I'm going to bring respect in here again, coming from a place of self respect and respect for others. And then making sure we restore ourselves. What are those things that give us meaning and purpose beyond our work? Always making sure we have something that we do for ourselves that feeds our soul. Is that exercise? Is that music? Is that spending time with family, reading a book? How do we be intentional about making that a ritual? So those are the rituals. Then we come to our relationships, making sure that we are creating relationships with people, maybe just a person or few people in a circle where we give and receive this belonging, and making sure those relationships come from a place of trust. And that is the only thing, that trust word is so important, that how do we create and try to co-create this trust within our group intentionally? And a lot of it starts by sharing our story, because stories are how we live our life. Our stories may be unique, but they are powerful because they have unique resonance. They really help to build connections. As medical students, you're going to be taught in the first year, and those of you who are already medical students, is to take a history. And what is a history? Nothing else but his story or her story. And it's when you find a fabric or a thread of their story that connects with the tapestry of threads of your story, that's when that connection happens. That's when that relationship happens. So, how do we try to learn each other's story and make space for that? Because I love this. One day you will tell your story of how you've overcome what you're going through, because everybody has a hurdle they go through, and it'll become part of somebody else's survival guide. It builds community, and it dispels that epidemic of loneliness that we are seeing in this technology age. So, something that I do for myself and something that I have done with my team of people at work, and it can be just 10 minutes, is pause once a week and ask these three questions. Hey, what about our work together gave us hope? What surprised us? What inspired us? And if we show up as our authentic selves, allow others to show up as their authentic selves, and be vulnerable, you will see how it builds that trust. And then the buddy check is what I do every weekend, is to send a positive quote with a reflective prompt to, I think it's about 35, 40 people now, and I've been told it's been paid forward. So it's just reaching out to people over the weekends and say, hey, I'm here for you. How are you doing? Wish you a happy weekend or something like that. Make it your own, but being intentional about that. And then taking time for reflection, because we don't learn by doing, we learn by reflecting on the work we've done. So, how do we create time for ourselves? Thinking of three good things every day that happened in the morning and in the evening is a powerful way of self reflection. And how do we do it in community? This is at the museum during COVID. We found time, we continued this. We use art and music, taking time, maybe half an hour during lunch to have some time in the park outside our hospital. And these are, we built masks, our superhero mask and our imposter mask with our residents and students. So really taking time to build that in reflection. So with that, I'm going to pause and just say, okay, I've sort of shared with you some important lessons from my life through words. uh, Belong, serve, love, help, why, we, and I. These have been really important words in hindsight through reflection. I wanted to share why they've been important. So, what I've learned over the journey for me is to be present as much as I can, knowing that I'm human, and try to do my best with faithfulness and not perfection, always being kind to myself and not being a self critic as much as possible, but always extending kindness to others, trying to make a difference and making the most of each day. And even many times it just means doing nothing. I just saw a study by Daniel Pink that he posted on LinkedIn where somebody researched what did the famous artists, scientists, philosophers, sculptors like Leonardo da Vinci, Einstein to modern day have in common. And the one thing they had in common, the one thing is they found time almost 2 to 3 times a week, if not every day, for 15 minutes to do nothing. And what they have said is doing nothing means that's when you're creating. That's when your creative wires get connected. So making most of each day doesn't mean that you have to be busy every day. Making sure that I find and co create belonging and be constantly learning because there's always something we can learn, and not forgetting to restore myself and try to find moments of play and fun, and try to be as authentic by sharing my authentic voice and story, and building an arc one day at a time, one brick at a time. And that arc for me stands for act of random kindness. Make sure I do one act of random kindness every day. And I tell my children that if you think about it and it's 9 or 10 o'clock at night and you realize, oh, you haven't done something, just call your mother. That's an act of random kindness. So thinking about that. And that to me is really an essence of what I think my journey has led up to, that I strive for. I can't say I do it every time. And that allows me to empower myself and others, keeping back to that mission to serve while being motivating to myself and others through integration and integrity to the North Star, coming from a place of humility and really reflection. And that's what I think builds what I call a community. And that is in keeping which a fundamental philosophical principle that I grew up with in India, which is called Vasudev Kutumbakam, means that helps you to show up in the world living for each other rather because the whole world is your family. So I sort of shared with you a little bit of, if we if if we live from a place of not showing up as our authentic selves and we have this negative reframing, we keep asking the question, us not, what is the matter with me? But how could we reframe that and ask what matters to me? And this will something that I try to reflect upon when you get those feelings of stress or feeling that the journey is not going what you thought it would needed to go for, and then go back to that why, that meaning and purpose. And with this is my last slide. I'm going to leave you with what does belonging. I started with where I'm from and where do I belong. And as I've thought about it and given you those words, to me, this is what belonging means. It means that we have to believe in ourselves, we have to show up with courage, and we have to believe in others. and give them an opportunity and try to be there for them in relational trust and in authentic co-creation of belonging, and realizing that we don't have to agree with everybody. Making sure that we are engaging and being open to engage, allowing others to engage, empowering ourselves, empowering others, listening to understand and not to fix or advise, that is listening with empathy, leveraging opportunities for ourselves and others, and lifting others up as we lift ourselves up, being open to opportunities and opening up opportunities for others. There is no excuse for not being nice and trying to be nurturing to everybody. Never forgetting gratitude. Gratitude is powerful. We feel a sense of joy when we offer gratitude to somebody else, and always coming from a growth mindset. So, with that, I would like to share that I'm really grateful for the journey that I have been given, and I'm still on it and learning. And it's really, being humble and open and empathetic that I think is what makes me a human. And I need to just embrace that I'm human and I'm not perfect. I just can be faithful. I'd like to end by sharing my relationship board. This is what I was talking about is, my students and residents and patients over years from 1998 to 2024, that I had collected cards and pictures and students' pictures. But this is what is my meaning of why, the purpose. When I look at this, it reminds me of my why. And then, of course, my family. My two children, their spouses, and now my grandchildren. So these are some books that I have really enjoyed in my journey, and some of them are children's books. There's so much wisdom in children's books. I think there's another one that I forgot to put up here. It's called The Three Questions by Tolstoy. It's a children's book that, oh, here it is, The Three Questions. It's really, really good. I would advise you all to read it. And then, of course, The Alchemist, also by Paulo Coelho. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm open for questions.
I'm Robin. I'm in Latino Tele. Can you hear me?
I don't think we can hear you, Robin.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, I'm Robin. I'm a volunteer that works with TeleShadowing. I've been finishing my PhD at Johns Hopkins. That's how I got involved with the organization. I guess, so I have a few questions to ask, but I'm not sure if there's anybody else that has anything that wants to go first. All right, so if not, I can jump right into it. You talked a lot about, thank you so much for this talk, first of all, because it was really inspirational. I think it was a good reminder to us that we're not just students or physicians, we're like multifaceted beings that really have to take care of all of these different aspects of ourselves. But along the lines of facing challenges, what's maybe one of the hardest things that you faced in your journey to get to where you are? And what are some really common sort of pitfalls that you think we should look out for?
Thank you. So, I start with my professional journey. So it was 2006, and I had, I was in a leadership position in the Department of Medicine, and things were going well. Children at home were doing well. The department was doing well. We had had a site visit and was fully accredited. Faculty were happy. Resident morale was good. To the outside world, everybody thought that I had it made, right? I was in a leadership position, but I was not okay. I was not well. I would go home and question my worth. I was chair of medicine. I was like, people are going to find out I'm not worthy enough. And I felt everybody around me was doing the work with such ease and grace, and I was struggling. And when I went home, I was irritable, snappy, not the best mom or wife or friend anybody needed. And the nights were very lonely because couldn't sleep. And I actually at that point thought of I was not good enough to be in medicine, and I was thinking of leaving the profession. at that point, I got an invitation to attend a retreat through the ACGME. It was called the Courage to Teach and Lead Retreat. And I thought, I don't need to go to that. And a friend reached out and said, hey, I didn't see your name on the registration. You need to come to this retreat. And just because it was a friend that I respected and he pushed me, I attended the retreat. And that was the pivotal moment. That has been the journey of what I have shared with you all today, that I realized the importance of self-care. And that was actually led by Parker Palmer. And I realized the importance of questioning my why. We were asked to reflect for a full 90 minutes on our why and then discuss it in triads. And it gave me a new meaning and realizing that this was a vocation. So that's where I learned the importance of what I'm telling you, what I wish I had known. And I realized that I had it all the time, but I was too afraid to ask for help. I had not reflected on my why. And then I came back re-energized, and that's when I started building these within the program and seeking help, and actually trained as one of the coaches and facilitators for those retreats, and now lead those retreats because I've realized the meaning of how important it is to find space for myself, to give to myself and not be selfish. It's not selfish. So that's a very personal struggle that took a while, that was eye-opening and very pivotal. And personally, the other struggle for me was when I decided to switch from OBGYN to internal medicine. I took 4 years off. Hindsight, those were the best 4 years of my life. During that time, I always questioned myself, my God, I finished medical school, I finished residency, I finished 2 residencies. I was a, faculty, and I'm wasting my time over here. And I tell everybody, I told my son to take an extra year when he had his daughter and he was in surgery, between surgery residency and fellowship, and do research that year. That time is precious. So even though that change was very hard, I think I was supported by a very core group of my family and friends who believed in me and said, it's okay, you'll still land in the right place. So what I will share with you is the importance of having that close circle of trust, whether that's family or friends, taking care of yourself, and always going back to why you're doing things and asking for help.
I think that's such a great lesson, because that imposter syndrome really gets sown when we feel isolated, like we need to be perfect all of the time. So on the other side of that, in this modern healthcare system that's become, I think, increasingly monetized, and you're supposed to spend less and less time to try to see more people, how do you find the time to really counsel your patients and make sure that they feel seen?
Yeah, that's a tough one. How do we balance touch and technology, right? And as technology keeps advancing, what is the role of touch? I think there are few things that we can do intentionally while we are with the patient, but also partnering with the patient. So one is humanizing the relationship. That first visit, what I talked about, trying to find a thread, I always find a thread with the patient and I document it. She is a grandmother, has a 3-year-old, because I connect with that. I have a 3-year-old. Or she, you could say she loves painting, or she loves drawing, or he loves gardening, or he was a veteran and my grandfather was a veteran, and document that. So the next time she comes into my office, I'll say, how's your granddaughter doing? And they feel seen and heard just by that. But then other things like sitting down. Right now, with ambient AI and all, how do we bring technology in so that we can look at the patient? And then trying to make sure that we tell the patient, look, I know I would like to spend more time with you. I have 15 minutes. This is what is important for you today. Let's start with that. And these are things that I feel are important. And we'll address the next things the next time. So this is what I will do when I'm with the patient. But then I'm advocating behind. Talking to the leaders, talking to the faculty. Okay, what do we need to do? Is this sustainable? What are the patient results? Can we get a scribe? How do we try to think about it, bringing in the data? And even though we may not get the results, we feel like we've got a voice, if we can even talk amongst ourselves. But those little things and talking with the patient at that time is very helpful. And investing in that first encounter so that I make sure that I write all those personal things down. And that takes a little time, but that investment in time helps in the future visits.
And so for like building trust with patients that you have a longitudinal relationship with, would you say that that's the most important thing, sort of like the consistency from visit to visit?
Absolutely. That trust is so, so important. And I have been given grace and mercy for my patients for the errors I've made because of the trust. I'll tell you one story. I was a second-year resident. My first month as a supervising resident in an ICU, we had an open ICU. A patient came in the middle of the night, as they always do, the serious ones, with severe GI bleed. And basically, for Dr. Devkota and Dr. Chow, may remember the Sanksticken Blakemore tube. That is like a last ditch effort that people do to try to save a patient. And they flew this patient in. And of course, I was just the resident. I say just the resident because they had deployed the surgeons and the gastroenterologists and everybody there. So they were taking care of the patient acutely, and the wife was standing there. So I talked to the wife and got the history. And I've written about this in my book, so I can share publicly. So this patient was an anatomy professor at an outlying institution who, due to lifestyle changes, had cirrhosis and had esophageal varices. They had no children. So luckily, he got better over the 3 weeks. And we used to do a month long of service inpatient that time. So I had him for my whole 3.5 weeks. And then he was discharged to the nursing home, a rehab facility for some time. During the 3.5 weeks, it was touch and go many times. And I had discussed code situation with the wife and got to know them really, really well. And we sent him out and he became my clinic patient. So he was in rehab for about 6 weeks. After 6 weeks, comes to the clinic and we had paper charts and I'm sitting there and I'm talking to him and the wife is standing by him. And, he keeps doing this like this, bringing his ear forward. And I'm like, he says, Dr. Panda, can you speak loud? Can you speak louder? And the wife says, yeah, he's not hearing very well these days. And I was looking at his medications. And I had forgotten to stop one of the medications we used to use those days. Dr. Chow, Dr. Devkota, aminoglycoside we used to give for sterilization of the gut orally. We don't do that anymore. And that's severely ototoxic, and my heart fell. And I was almost in tears and I rushed out and told my attending, I said, I've done this. What do I do? And she said, what do you want to do? I said, I need to tell them it's my fault. So I went in and I almost in tears. And I say, I'm sorry. This is my fault. And I told, and you know what he did? He just laughed. He said, oh, Dr. Panda, don't worry about it. It helps me. I don't have to listen to my wife nagging me to do exercise all the time. That made me cry even more because I had built that trust. And he was my patient till he passed. And you can read the whole story in my book and then his wife. But for almost 12 years. And whenever I saw him, he always asked, how are your kids? And I would ask him, how are his nieces and things like that. So trust, trust, trust. And that comes by showing you're human.
Yeah, sometimes people's capacity for grace is really amazing. So you talked a lot about teamwork and how to be a good team member. And I think one of the things that's always really important and especially important in this sort of climate that we're in right now is being like really inclusive and culturally competent team members. So do you have any advice on how to do that better and maybe how to better include like international medical graduates that came from a different system?
Yeah, this is very near and dear to my heart because I'm an international medical graduate and I could speak hours about it, but I'm not. It starts right from the beginning. How do you show that by your body language, that empathetic conversation? That's important. But get to know their story. And some ways we've done this in our institution and is we actually talk at orientation, we play what is called the two things. We pray what is the shuffle exercise. And the shuffle exercise is we have the group of people together, and it's very simple. They have 3 by 5 index cards. And we ask them to write on that what intentions they're holding and what does the word belong mean to them. Okay, so they will write that. And then I'll write, and I will go to you, Robin, and I will say, hey, I'm Mukta, I'm from India. I want to go into medical school because I really want to take care of people and learn a whole lot. And belonging to me means family. And you share, I'm Robin, these are my intentions, this is what belonging means. And I give you my card and you give me your card. And then I go up to Dr. Devkota and I say, Dr. Devkota, I am Mukta. This is what my intentions are. This is what belonging means to me. And this is Robin. These are her intentions. This is what belonging means to me. And Hari goes to Dr. Chow. I am Hari. This is this. And this is what Robin and Mukta said. We do this with 3 people and we make a word cloud of it. And what we realize is our intentions are all the same. We all want to either learn more, not mess up. Everybody has same intentions. And the word belonging all centers down to feeling safe and having people who care and love and respect us. And suddenly you realize that we are coming from all over the world, but we have the same intentions. Then soon after that, we play what is called the getting to know you bingo. And there we have things like, loves yoga, speaks 3 languages, has practiced in 3 countries, has a dog, plays the musical instrument, or, things like that. And then suddenly they're playing that they realize they all have similarities, but they've also made connections. Hey, we've got kids of the same age. Or you speak this language also? And then the other thing that we do is food and sports. How do you bring those conversations in and celebrate each other's culture? We used to have these, you saw the picture of the multicultural lunches, the potlucks, is because internal medicine had a lot of IMGs and surgery didn't. And surgery always used to feel internal medicine was weak because they had IMGs, and I needed to dispel that. So what we did was we actually did potlucks, and food, they never missed. They would ask us, when is the potluck? Because, hey, when you're bringing in Asian food and food from other countries, people like to savor Spanish and things like that. But we had a big map. And on that map, we would have each time somebody share a story about their country and healthcare system over there and educate each other. So it starts with intentionality.
Yeah, what a fun way to start building connections more naturally.
Yeah.
So
I think Dr. Devkota wanted to say something.
Yeah, of course, go ahead.
Good morning. Thank you, Dr. Panda. Wow. This is, I want to say something. Dr. Panda she's an encyclopedia, maybe dictionary, maybe Harrison of internal medicine. This is probably, I heard this one maybe a couple of times, and each time is the learning. Um, and I would like to do some self-reflection, Dr. Panda, if I may. So the thing that resonate with me is a couple of them. One is like building a community. The word "we," the way you said is like, I will quote the book like Seven Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. And I was very impressed at that time. I did not know the concept before of we, because, he mentioned the human development, how it developed. First, you are dependent because you are a kid and your parents take care of you. And then you try to become independent once you grow up. And then I thought that the independent is the highest level. And he mentioned, interdependence. So once you become independent, then the highest form is interdependence. Can you work together in a group? Can you develop a community? um, can you develop a trust, right? You are helpful to others, and it comes to you back same way, right? In other words, you are a small being, being a part of the larger community, and serving the community. That's the ultimate part of the human development, right, Dr. Panda?
Absolutely.
That's one, and then that's the one thing it resonate very well. The second is the trust. The ultimate as a physician, there's a single thing if we need to mention is the trust with the patient and physician, or patient and physician and colleague, or teacher, student, or mentor mentee, right? Whatever we say, if we do not have the trust, then nothing is there. These are the two things that resonate with me very, very well. And then I will write to request the student. One of my friend used to say, hey, let's go for the free lecture. What he meant to say is like, hey, you don't need to pay, but you get lot of wisdom. So this is one of the free lecture Dr. Panda offer. I will request all the resident to communicate as much as to your friends. Again, this is developing a community, and then learning from, what shall I say, the old expert, Dr. Panda. That's unbeatable. And the things like, so many things to reflect, Dr. Panda. I'm writing whole 2 page. I don't want to go through all this, but like, couple of things that really resonate is we are a spiritual being in human body. Wow. Um, and then so many things. I know I don't want to take all the time. But Dr. Panda, when the student, I see this lot. Basically, when the student have their self perception and assumption, but they do not express this one to, how do I help them, how do we help them with that condition?
Yeah, first, I think either they come to you or it depends if they come to you or you observe it, right? If you observe it, then I think getting to know the student, getting to know their story and unpacking it. If they come to you and once you've unpacked the story, the framework I use is asking open, honest questions. And what an open, honest question is, it's an awakening, it's a self-awakening question. It is in service of the person, it is not to serve your curiosity. So you don't ask them, why are you feeling like this? So what are the situations that really give you joy? What are the situations that make you uncomfortable? How can I help you? So those are the questions. And I have a list of open, honest questions that I will share with you that we use. And really first creating the psychological safety that, I'm here to listen, to understand, not to fix or advise. Because we are always in, thinking that it's a hierarchy, right? So we have to break that hierarchy during that conversation.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Panda. Thank you so much.
So if no one else has anything, the thing that we always finish up with is we have these amazing people come talk to us who've accomplished so much in their careers. And we just like to know like how you or anyone else on the call who has insight on this has managed to maintain a work-life balance.
Rituals, reflections, and relationships. Making a ritual of what that balance, or I don't think balance exists. I think balance is a myth. It's an integration and harmony. So a ritual of, taking care of myself, and that is 3 good things every morning. I always read something positive every morning and try to reflect before I go to bed. Do an act of random kindness. Always makes me feel that I've done something. And then, prioritizing, right? And delegating, 2 things. what do I need to do today, and what do I not need to do, and being open about it with the family. And taking and then realizing that I don't have to do everything. There's a book I'm going to give you by George McQuinn. I think it's George. It's called Essentialism. It's a really eye-opening book. It's very easy read, few pages, but it's called Essentialism. And I think prioritizing is important. And then remembering we are human. We can only be faithful. We cannot be perfect.
May I also mention something?
Go ahead, Hari.
Yeah. So, I echo all what Dr. Panda says. And then I know I do wellness through the ACP at the Maryland chapter, and then so we do the story swap every month, and then the next story swap is interesting. We do every second Thursday of the month, 7 to 8 p.m. through Zoom. And the next month, the coming month is a day without a work, which is similar to this one. The main bottom line is how to recharge ourselves. The recharging is very important. And then the part of the wellness important is like it's not probably the one thing that have all the answers. So everybody might have different thing that can recharge. For some, maybe take a nap. For some, maybe like have a cup of tea. For Dr. Chow, maybe it's the tennis. For Dr. Panda, helping whole community. So it's totally different for everyone. But anything that recharges to you will definitely help and go a long way. And then I'm sorry, I'm not doing the advertisement, but I will request the student to join our story swap also, which is, and Dr. Panda, usually when she has time, she also joins. So that way we can build the community together and then get help from each other. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I will advertise the story swap for him. It is very powerful and it builds community. And I like the word he used, recharge, and remembering that recharge and renewal needs to happen in real time. It's not that you need to take a vacation for that or spend a lot of money at a spa or something. How do you find those moments to recharge? By connecting to your why in that time. So halt is one for me, gratitude, 3 good things, those help recharge.
That's all we have for today's session. I just want to thank you so much for all the insight that you've given us. We're all coming out of the session with a lot to reflect on and a lot of reading that we're going to have to do. And I think we're all excited about. So thank you again for giving your time today.
Thank you. And, do the reading at your leisure. The children's books are easy, 10 minutes and powerful wisdom. So don't think you have to read a whole book. But thank you very much. I mean, you all are the future, like I said. So thank you all for what you're doing and all the very best. Thank you, Dr. Chow. Thank you, Dr. Dev Kota. I always appreciate your support. Take care. Thank you, Robin. All right. And Mira and Amna. Appreciate it.